Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Aliens Invaded. I, Chef Become the Strongest Human. Chapter 51. Shui Ruyan, who was lying on the bed, pursed her lips, thought for a while and then started typing the message. Classmate Zhang is very reasonable. As a thank you, how about I be your guide when you come to Shangcheng? After sending the message, Shui Ruyan immediately put down her phone and buried her face in the pillow. Ding dong. The message alert sounded, and Shui Ruyan, who was sullen for a long time, slowly raised his head and unlocked his phone a little nervously. In the past days, she had focused on improving her strength. This was her first time inviting a boy like this. Shui Ruyan didn't know what was wrong with her, but she just felt that if Zhang Tian came to the provincial capital, she would like to go shopping with him and help him. Although it was strange to say this, Shui Ruyan always felt that Zhang Tian had no common sense in some aspects. Therefore, Shui Ruyan believed that she had the responsibility to help Zhang Tian get familiar with the environment of the provincial capital. After all, the reason why his family left their hometown and moved to Shangcheng was all his own fault. Looking at the phone screen, Shui Ruyan also saw Zhang Tian's reply. No problem, I just have a lot of things to ask Shui-san, I'll see you then. Close black lens bracket. The corners of Shui Ruyan's mouth curled up slightly unconsciously. It seems that she has to consider whether she will gain weight again. Open black lens bracket epsilon equals omicron backquote asterisk alas close black lens bracket. Zhang Tian, I heard from the teacher that the first level of awakening is a rapid improvement. When you temper your body, you don't have to worry about gaining weight. Close black lens bracket. Zhang Tian, moreover, the food I cook will be of additional help to your practice. You will be more confident in preparing for the martial arts college entrance examination by laying a foundation. Close black lens bracket. Shui Ruyan, but will this delay your preparation for the martial arts college entrance examination? Zhang Tian, no, because there is no opponent for me in the country this time. Close black lens bracket. Seeing this reply, Shui Ruyan blinked and realized that she had asked a stupid question. I almost forgot that the classmate Zhang I was talking to was a ruthless character who could instantly kill an experienced second-level Xingkang sect evildoer with his bare hands. Thinking of this, Shui Ruyan inevitably thought of her aunt's kind words of advice. Oops, Shui Ruyan inevitably blushed again, feeling ashamed and rolling on the bed. What is this? The blushing Shui Ruyan chatted with Zhang Tian for a while, and it wasn't until it was too early that the two said goodbye to each other. Shui Ruyan, have a good rest, good night. Close black lens bracket. Zhang Tian, good night. Close black lens bracket. After closing the dialog box, Shui Ruyan switched to the mobile phone interface, opened the shopping mall interface, and carefully selected something. On the other side, Zhang Tian also put away his mobile phone, closed his eyes and took a good rest. The next day, the lockdown has been lifted and students confirmed to be fine have been gradually allowed to go home. This time, the Starry Sky sect matter was handled quite quickly. On the way home, Zhang Tian felt that everything was normal in U City, and there was no atmosphere of martial law like yesterday. And his pace involuntarily accelerated. He was inexplicably locked up all night and didn't go home. His parents were probably worried too. Although I sent a message in advance to go back, only when I get home can I completely let go of my parents' heart. As soon as he arrived at the door of his house, before Zhang Tian went in, he heard a strange voice. After opening the door, I found that there were two more people in the originally crowded home. The two people, a boy and a girl, were about the same age as his parents, sitting on a small sofa. And his mother Lu Fang was walking out of the kitchen with tea and handing it to the visitors of the house. The man flicked the ash on the ground, put the cigarette in his mouth, squinted his eyes and took the tea. Thank you, sister-in-law. Sister-in-law is so polite. The woman next to her said with a smile as she took the tea. It was at this time that Zhang Yuan, who was sitting on the chair next to him, waved to Zhang Tian who was returning home, shouting, call someone. Based on the mixed memories of the two lives, Zhang Tian knew who these two people were. Father's cousin Zhang Ping, and his wife Wang Gui. Why did these two people come to their house for no reason without going to the Three Treasures Palace? If Zhang Tian remembers correctly, although this relative is in U City, they only occasionally move around during the holidays and are not close to each other. Uncle, aunt. Jiang Tian listened to his father's words and nodded slightly towards the two of them. Jiang Ping responded while drinking tea, well. Wang Gui said with a smile. It's been a long time since we last seen Jiang Tian, and he looks a lot more handsome. I heard your dad said he plans to be a chef. He's a good chef, he has a lot of money to make. While Wang Gui was speaking, Lu Fang glanced at his son Jiang Angel. Although Jiang Tian saw the look in his mother Lu Fang's eyes, he didn't know what it meant. He responded, being a chef is indeed my dream. Hey, let me tell you. Wang Gui slapped his thigh and said with a smile, that's not a coincidence. Since Jiang Tian wants to pursue his dream, he naturally doesn't need to go to college. Good sister-in-law, just do me a favor. Facing Wang Gui's words, Lu Fang opened her mouth and looked a little ugly. Zhang Yuan, on the other hand, said in a deep voice, although I say that, you still have to go to this university. If you can't get into a martial arts university, you can at least get into a liberal arts university. At least let the kids try. Zhang Yuan had just finished speaking, and Zhang Ping waved his hand. Brother, that's not the case. It's okay for you to let him try, but it's doomed to be a waste of effort, so why bother? Wang Gui on the side also persuaded, that's right. If your children learn to cook early, they can also help the family. Why waste time and energy? Afterwards, the four people spoke to each other and made Jiang Tian understand the whole story. It turns out that after I killed the Xingkong sect evildoer and earned a bonus, my parents started to mess up at work after they were no longer under pressure from work. Then there were some rumors that the couple had made a fortune and would have no worries about food and clothing for the rest of their lives. My father's cousin, who works in the same area as my parents, also heard these words and came over to borrow money. And they asked their parents to borrow 600,000 yuan, saying that they wanted to help their son, who was a sophomore in high school, to improve his vitality so that he could awaken a good talent next year and attend a good martial arts university. How could Zhang Yuan and Lu Fang agree to this? The money was earned by their son fighting the Xingkong sect evildoers, and the couple's jobs were failing. But when spending this money, we have to be careful and budget-wise, and in many places we are still reluctant to part with it. The couple is still thinking of saving the money to use it to find a wife for their son in the future. Hey, brother and sister-in-law, you two really can't understand each other. You have finally made a fortune. You must contribute to the big family. Wang Gui became a little anxious when he saw that the two couples were struggling to make ends meet and refused to agree to life or death. She kept chattering and brainwashed the two couples. We are both from the Zhang family. My son is very talented and the teacher has admitted him to the elite class. The teacher said that if you can spend money to go to the blood source room, you have a chance to hit 80 points of health before awakening in the third year of high school. If you invest in our son, let our Zhang family produce a top student, enter a good martial arts university, and prosper in the future, our Zhang family will also follow the chickens and dogs to the sky. When that time comes, can I still forget you? Leaving this money to your son will only be wasted. Why are you so selfish? Wang Gui's words made Zhang Yuan and Lu Fang stunned. What do you mean? If I don't lend you my own money, it's called selfishness. Jiang Tian, please also advise your parents. Your brother is ranked 78th in the whole grade in this exam, and his health value has reached 67 points. This is just the beginning of his second year of high school. You should know what this means. Uncle knows that you have been sensible since you were a child. Please tell your parents clearly. Breathtaking. Jiang Tian's mind was a little down at this moment. Is there something wrong with this person's mind? Let him persuade his parents to give their money to others. Borrow. Is there anyone who has borrowed this and returned it? A meteoric rise. When that day comes, I'm afraid we will become poor relatives who don't know where we came from. Will you still be remembered? Jiang Tian shook his head and looked at Zhang Yuan and Lu Fang. Mom and Dad, you can't borrow this money, I still have use for it. Jiang Tian, what use can you have? Hearing what Jiang Tian said, Wang Gui immediately became anxious. You kid is so ignorant, your brother's grades are so good. Does that mean your grades are very good? Jiang Tian looked at his aunt and said slowly, this time I took the city's joint examination for the awakening assessment, and I ranked first in the city. As Jiang Tian said this, he took out his mobile phone, opened his personal account, and clicked on the personal honor in the message. As expected, it was shown above that Zhang Tian won the honor of ranking first in the city's joint examination in the U City Awakening Assessment. This city-wide joint examination is an official assessment, and there are also official rewards, which will be recorded and registered information. Looked at the message on the phone screen in disbelief. The official personal account message, it couldn't be fake. Zhang Ping from the side also rushed over, dumbfounded. This time the first place reward includes 48 hours of use of the level 2 blood source room. I need money to manage my connections and go to the provincial capital for further studies. So, parents, you have to pack up and follow me to the provincial capital, Shangcheng. By the way, because I saved a classmate from a good family, in order to repay me, her family donated a villa in the provincial capital to our family, so we don't need to worry about where to live. Zhang Tian's words made Zhang Yuan and Lu Feng freeze in place, and the couple felt as if they were dreaming. Then, they immediately moved closer to their son and looked at the phone in his hand. After the confirmation, Lu Feng was so happy that she couldn't help hugging her son and exclaiming, "Oh, my son is great, how can you be so up to date? Ha 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 ha, you kid is really." Zhang Yuan couldn't help but hugged his son's shoulders. There were tears in his eyes and his voice was choked. Hope their children will succeed. Which parent doesn't want their children to achieve success? At this time, Lu Feng glanced at Zhang Ping and Wang Gui opposite. As you just said, money should be invested in top-achieving people like my son, all from Lao Yang's family. In the future, Xiaotian will be admitted to a good martial arts university and become famous. After that, our Zhang family will also follow the chickens and dogs to heaven. By the way, after all this calculation, our family's money is probably not enough to manage our relationship. My brother and sister-in-law, can you lend us some money? When Xiaotian becomes successful in the future, he will definitely not forget you. You can't be so selfish and refuse to borrow it, right? Lu Feng's words meant that the two people's faces turned green and red, making them look very ugly. Why are you so proud? I think this first place must be a result of cheating. That's right, it hurts when you stand too high and fall. If your family is so complacent, you will definitely fail in the college entrance examination. When the time comes, you will have time to cry. The two couples were furious and rushed out the door while talking. But the deep envy and jealousy in their eyes could not escape Lu Feng's eyes. She followed her to the door and shouted to the two people who were leaving in despair, "If you have the ability, let your child also be the first in the city." Bah, it's nothing. The noisy movement naturally disturbed many neighbors, who came out to watch the show. First, what is first? Brother Yuan, Sister Feng, what's going on? Lu Feng snorted coldly and complained to the neighbors about the strange behavior of the two couples. Zhang Yuan next to him was cheerful, smoking with his neighbors. Is there such a thing? It's really not a thing, how can it be like this? I didn't expect that Zhang Tian, the kid who keeps quiet, is so awesome. Ha ha ha, Brother Yuan, congratulations. The neighbors knew the cause and effect of the incident, and they all helped condemn this strange relative. At the same time, they also congratulated Zhang Yuan and Lu Feng. Of course, there was also deep envy in his words. Zhang Yuan and Lu Feng also gradually changed their body postures amidst the compliments. Life has lowered their heads and bent their backs. At this moment, the two couples were surrounded by people, smiling happily, raising their heads and straightening their chests and backs. At the door, Zhang Tian watched all this silently with a smile. The simple, crude and unskilled show-off before was all for this moment. The father is honored by the son, and the mother is honored by the son. His parents used to protect him from wind and rain, but now that he had the chance, he naturally had to let them feel proud and comfortable for a while. However, Zhang Tian only found out from what Zhang Ping and Wang Gui said just now. The cost of using the blood source room is actually so expensive. The two couples borrowed money so that their son could go to the blood source room to stimulate his body and increase his blood value. The level 0 blood source room costs 100,000 Tang Guo coins per hour, and underage high school sophomores can only use it once a month. The level 1 blood source room costs 1 million Tang Guo coins per hour, and minors are not allowed to use it. For blood source rooms above level 2, Zhang Tian temporarily checked the information and found that the blood source rooms at this level do not sell use time to the outside world for the purpose of controlling resources. From this, it can be seen that the reward for the first place he won was very generous. Jiang Tian was thinking while cleaning the house. There were cigarette ashes and spilled tea everywhere on the floor. Click. The door closed and Jiang Tian looked up to see his parents returning home. As soon as the two came back, they began to gather together to count their assets with their mobile phones and murmured, "Mom and Dad, what are you doing?" Jiang Tian came over and asked aloud. Zhang Yuan took a puff from his cigarette, squinting his eyes and frowning in the smoke. "Didn't you say you want to have a relationship? Your mother and I will see if the money is enough." "I just said it casually, there is no such thing." Jiang Tian shook his head and reassured the two of them. Zhang Yuan and Lu Feng were still worried, afraid that Jiang Tian would lie deliberately to prevent them from thinking too much. "Mom and Dad, look." Jiang Tian took out his phone again and opened his asset balance. "The classmate I rescued has really good family conditions. In addition to the villa, he also gave me some money." "A little money." Zhang Yuan and Lu Feng looked at their son's cell phone. They wanted to see how much this little money cost. Jiang Tian showed the phone interface to his parents so that they could understand it better. Communication is very important. If your parents know that you have a lot of money and no worries about food and clothing, they will be able to relax a little and enjoy more. There is no stress, you are in a happy mood, you eat and drink well, and your body and mind feel naturally better. When they get better, Jiang Tian will naturally get better and be able to concentrate on chasing his dreams. The couple took a closer look at the interface of their son's phone and were immediately dazzled by the series of zeros. Lu Feng stretched out her index finger, clicked on the numbers on the screen and read, 100, 100, 1 million, 100,000, 1 million, 100 million, 100 million. After seeing Lu Feng clearly, her legs couldn't help but feel weak. Jiang Tian quickly caught her with quick eyes and hands and asked her to sit down on the sofa. Lu Feng sat on the sofa, not knowing where to put her hands. "Son, is this money really okay?" "Don't worry, I'm just grateful." Jiang Tian patted his mother on the back to reassure her. Lu Feng rubbed her knees with her hands. "With so much money, what kind of family conditions do you need?" Da. Over there, Zhang Yuan had a cigarette in his mouth and kept lighting the lighter, his trembling hands causing the fire to light up crookedly. "This money is too much. So our family's financial situation has improved, so don't worry too much. Spend your time and don't save too much." Jiang Tian said, "I will transfer the money to you later." At this time, Zhang Yuan finally lit the cigarette, took a deep breath, and flicked it into the ashtray on the table. "Don't pass it to us, keep it in your own hands. Your mother and I have so much money and don't know how to spend it. You can just open a family account for us and limit the amount. You are promising and knowledgeable now, and it is better to have money in your hands. What if we lose our minds one day and are deceived or tricked? When the time comes, it will be annoying for you and us too." Zhang Yuan's words made Lu Feng nodded quickly, patted her son and said, "What your dad said is reasonable. Just listen to him, but my son is going to be successful, and his monthly quota must be 8,000. My son is so capable, how can this little money be enough? Give us a quota of 10,000, 10,000 each." Zhang Yuan puffed out his cigarette and laughed. Jiang Tian didn't know whether to laugh or cry about this. 100 million Tangguo coins, the monthly limit is 10,000. It would take the couple 400 years to spend it all, and that still doesn't include interest. This is parents. At this time, they are still thinking about their children so as not to affect themselves too much. "I will give you an unlimited amount to avoid any unexpected situations," Jiang Tian said with a firm tone. "Since you say I am promising, of course you should listen to me." The couple wanted to say something else, but Jiang Tian waved his hand to stop them. "Mom and Dad, you have to help pack some needed things now. Next, we have to move." Jiang Tian's words made the couple wake up from a dream. This was a critical moment for their son. "Hurry up. My son is preparing for the college entrance examination. Every minute is precious." Lu Feng pushed Zhang Yuan and hurriedly walked towards the house. After being pushed, Zhang Yuan choked on his cigarette, put out the cigarette butt, and followed his wife into the house. Jiang Tian stood there, watching his parents bickering as they entered the room, with a smile on his face. Time passed and it was the next day in a blink of an eye. Zhang Yuan and Lu Feng reluctantly locked the door and followed their son downstairs. There is no shortage of money now, and the family plans to keep the old house just like this, which is considered a thought. Not long after, Zhang Tian and his family got into the rented moving company's truck and headed quickly towards Shangcheng. In the passenger area of the freight truck, Zhang Tian was also curiously looking at the highways in this world. The colorful formation runes rippled on the road. Although the driver was sitting there, he was just watching a movie projected on the front windshield. After the time and space disaster occurred, spiritual energy surged, technology and practice merged, allowing many fantasy technologies to be realized. For example, after cars on the highway come on, they will choose to connect to the formation, be managed uniformly, and drive automatically. This is very efficient. The U city where Zhang Tian was located was not far from the provincial capital Shangcheng, and he successfully arrived in just half an hour. When they arrived at the community, Zhang Yuan and Lu Feng were like Grandma Lu entering the Grand View Garden. Looking left and right, they felt everything was strange. Especially when they arrived in front of their villa, they were even more happy from ear to ear. The couple was wandering around, talking non-stop. Okay, it's really good. Zhang Tian is also very satisfied. Everything in the villa is fully equipped and can be moved in with a bag. Especially in this big and bright kitchen, Zhang Tian couldn't bear to get out even if he got into it. When he opened the refrigerator, he found that it was filled with various ingredients. Most of them are livestock bred on farms, not exotic meat. The meat of foreign races is usually used to make elixirs to remove the toxins inside. Even with the alchemy method, the toxins still cannot be completely eliminated, and the remaining ones are called erysipelas. Don't take too much of the elixir. Livestock that can be fed with spiritual materials are also extremely nutritious. The ingredients in this refrigerator are valuable. Zhang Tian reached out and took off the note in the refrigerator. There was a line of Wanshou font on it. It's hard for a clever woman to cook without rice, so Chef Yang's refrigerator cannot be empty. Close black lens bracket. Obviously, those who have prepared the ingredients in the refrigerator in advance are ready to cook. After all, it once belonged to someone else's house, so it makes sense to have a password to come in and decorate it. Thank you, Snow Gourmet. Zhang Tian put the note away and began to show off his skills. Naturally, Zhang Yuan and Lu Feng were full of praise for this meal and gave Zhang Tian a thumbs up. Zhang Tian was naturally satisfied to see his parents eating happily, but he only had two regrets. First, my parents couldn't give me any good advice. They just asked, "It's delicious, it's delicious, it's delicious," and the food my son cooks is unrivaled in the world. Second, compared with foreign ingredients, it is still far behind. Even though I have eaten flame bird meat so many times, it still makes people miss it. Not to mention the stunning red pig trotters. After dinner, Zhang Tian carefully studied the chef's reference book and then lay down on the bed to sleep and rest. The experience in his previous life made Zhang Tian cherish sleeping time very much. Once upon a time, sleeping was a luxury for him. When Zhang Tian woke up the next morning, he found that it was not too early. The sleep was so comfortable that he rarely slept in. After stretching a little, Zhang Tian left the room and went downstairs to the living room. But when he first arrived in the living room, he found a slim figure sitting next to his mother, discussing something animatedly with each other. Shui Ruyan heard the noise and turned around and smiled at Zhang Tian. "Zhang, are you up?" Zhang Tian was stunned for a moment, looked down at his pants, turned around and rushed upstairs. Only Shui Ruyan's laughter was left, echoing in the living room. After a small interlude, Zhang Tian, who had packed up, and Shui Ruyan walked out of the room under the watch of Zhang Yuan and Lu Feng. "She is such a beautiful girl, she speaks well, and her family conditions are so good. What kind of bad luck does that kid in our family have?" Lu Feng muttered. Zhang Yuan shook his head. "I'm just an ordinary classmate, don't think too much about it." "What a beautiful idea, how can ordinary classmates come to visit so early in the morning?" Lu Feng shook her head at her husband. "You don't understand. The girls have already said that they won first place together, and the blood source room for the reward has been contacted. Let's take our son to get acquainted with it." After Zhang Yuan finished speaking, his wife Lu Feng poked his head. "You are such a stupid person. For something like this, why don't you just send a message on your phone to give me your location? Then you come over dressed beautifully. What are you trying to do? You're so stupid. I'm afraid my son will be like you. At this moment, Zhang Tian didn't know that his mother was heartbroken. He got on the familiar hover car and followed Shui Ruyan to the blood source room. The driver is of course Aunt Wan. She was very curious about this boy who broke into the young lady's life, and the master and the old lady were naturally even more curious. It's just that the old couple doesn't quite believe that a boy whom their daughter calls an ordinary boy can attract the attention of their precious granddaughter and be so interested in him. There must be something special about him, so let Aunt Wan pay more attention and then report the situation quietly. The reward this time is quite good. You can use the level 2 blood source room for free for 48 hours. Many people will not envy you. Grandpa helped us this time and made a reservation for a good blood source room. Let's go there and give it a try this time. Shui Ruyan, who was sitting with Zhang Tian in the back row, said. Not long after she finished speaking, the hover car had already arrived at its destination. After Zhang Tian got out of the car, he looked up at the words hanging on the building. Shangxi No. 1 Training Hall. Training halls are official venues that provide training venues and services. There are such training halls in every place in the Tang dynasty. It's just that depending on the level of development and resource availability of each place, the training halls are also different and each has its own characteristics. There are many training halls in Shangxi, and the No. 1 training hall is naturally the one with the best conditions. Aunt Wan went to park the car, while Zhang Tian followed Shui Ruyan into the No. 1 training hall. The training hall is very large and divided into many areas. For example, after entering the door, there are many people exercising and sweating on the many divided playgrounds in front of them. Judging from their faces, they are all immature students with weak auras. This is a comprehensive training venue. These students' families pay for someone to help test them. Finally, they will undergo special training based on their individual physiques. Although the equipment in the training hall will be more expensive to use, it is more user-friendly and detailed than in the school. It is especially suitable for students who are aiming for higher grades. As for the blood source room, it's further back. Shui Ruyan led the way, explaining as she walked. The different worlds behind the time and space gate all have a very important resource called spirit stones. The blood source chamber is based on spiritual stones, combined with formations, to create a high pressure, high concentration, and highly stimulating spiritual energy environment. Although this kind of environment cannot make people awaken, it is suitable for tempering the body and improving the realm of cultivation. However, practicing in the blood source room is also very taxing on the body, so you need to rest and have intervals. Level 0 is recuperating in the blood source room. The rest time is basically a month, but after we awaken, it usually only takes a few days. I heard that some people with strong qualifications and outstanding talents only need 2 to 3 days of rest to fully recover. In addition, the longer you stay in the blood source chamber, the better the effect will be. When Shui Ruyan took Zhang Tianqin to the blood source room, she kept describing the specific situation. In the beginning, it was her grandfather who helped secure the resources of the blood source chamber. It is also a tailor-made special blood source room, which not only allows her to enter it for 3 consecutive days with a lower burden, but also allows for more targeted improvements. It's a pity that I couldn't achieve the expected health value that time. As a result, the delicious food cooked by Zhang Tian made her past accumulation explode, and she jumped to over 100 points. This time, after eating Zhang Tian's many dishes, the blood that had accumulated in his body but could not be refined still existed, like a treasure stored waiting to be discovered. Shui Ruyan believes that she will be able to make rapid progress again in the blood source chamber, allowing her to improve her strength before the college entrance examination. At the same time, she was also curious. Zhang Tian's strength is already so terrifying. With the help of the blood source chamber, how much more can his strength be improved? Soon, the two came to the blood source room area. This place looks like a place where Zhang Tian was filmed in a hospital in his previous life. Thick metal doors closed each room, and there was a large projection screen not far away, showing the status of the room. The staff in charge of the blood source room area came over and after verifying the identities of Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan, they took them along the corridor and walked inside. As they walked, the staff member said, "The level 2 blood source room you are going to is the most powerful one and has the best effect. After you enter, the effect of the blood source chamber is activated. You will feel dizzy, have chest tightness, shortness of breath, and want to vomit. This is completely normal. If you really can't bear it anymore, come out immediately to avoid any accidents. If there is an emergency, there is an alarm button in the room, just click it. After saying that, the staff just took the two people to the door of a blood source room and motioned for them to go in. After the two entered the blood source room, the heavy metal door began to close slowly. Usually, a blood source room has 10 people in one room. If we have 2 people in one room, the effect will be better. The door closed and Shui Ruyan explained to Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian also observed the surroundings at this time and found that the walls inside the blood source room were engraved with formation runes. The formation runes on these metal walls began to gradually light up, like cold light strips connecting. Buzz! A trembling sound suddenly sounded, and the entire room suddenly rose with rich spiritual energy and terrifying pressure. Shui Ruyan immediately groaned, and her figure began to stagger. Almost immediately, sweat broke out on her forehead. Level 2. The blood source room at level 2 is really stressful, classmate Zhang. Shui Ruyan said with difficulty. When she raised her head with difficulty, she found Jiang Tian standing opposite him as if nothing happened. Moreover, when she looked at Jiang Tian, she found that the other person was looking at her with a puzzled expression. Why, I don't feel anything, Jiang Tian said, jumping twice on the spot. And Shui Ruyan, who was forced to kneel down on one knee because of this pressure, looked at Jiang Tian who was still bouncing in front of him, and his mind was filled with questions. In the blood source room, the formation patterns on the surrounding metal walls have completely lit up, and have reached the strongest pressure. Shui Ruyan could clearly sense that the resistance was taking place within her body. This kind of high-pressure situation is actually harmful to the body. It is this kind of injury that causes the body to react and instinctively start to fight. The process of confrontation is the process of tempering the body. If the 0th level of self-cultivation is about laying the foundation and laying the framework, the first level of awakening is about laying walls and bricks. The tempering of the body is secondary, the most important thing is the improvement of the meridians and dantian. Only in the first stage of awakening, if the meridians and dantian are tempered to a certain intensity, can they be able to support the pressure caused by the surge of blood and energy during formal practice. But in such an environment, it is very difficult to move freely, and you need to constantly resist the pressure of countless absent spiritual energy. Shui Ruyan's whole body was already bursting with blood, and her whole body was bathed in blood-colored light. Fortunately, her profession is a qi refiner, so the strength of her external and internal blood is now well balanced. After getting used to it for a while, the massive blood energy stored in Shui Ruyan's body due to eating Jiang Tian's food was also burning and tempering her body. She has also become somewhat accustomed to this high-pressure environment and can stand up straight and walk slowly. As for Jiang Tian, in front of her, Jiang Tianzheng was standing on his head with one hand and the other hand behind his back. His inverted body was straight. Then his legs fell upside down, and Jiang Tian began somersaults continuously in the room. After the last horizontal spiral circle, he landed firmly on the ground. Still pacing hard in the blood source room, Shui Ruyan took a deep breath to relieve the pressure, and the corners of his eyebrows twitched slightly. No, classmate Shui. Jiang Tian returned to Shui Ruyan and shook his head, I still don't feel anything. I'm afraid the level 2 blood source chamber has no effect on me. Although he didn't know the specific value, Jiang Tian could still sense his physical condition. The blood abyss furnace technique is running on its own in the body, slowly tempering the whole body. Although his talent is terrifying, because his foundation is too good and his foundation is too deep, his speed is getting slower and slower. Shui Ruyan looked at Jiang Tian in front of her and was speechless. The high pressure in the blood source chamber is pervasive, penetrating itself in all aspects, rather than simply exerting pressure on the surface of the body. It can be said that after entering the blood source room, the internal organs will be stimulated by the pressure of spiritual energy. Therefore, the effect of the blood source chamber is immediate and stimulates the body in all aspects. This is why the fees are so high, and even the blood source room starting at level 2 must be treated as a resource controlled by the Tang state and cannot be traded or sold. She was sweating profusely and it was difficult to speak a word, but Jiang Tian had exercised vigorously just now, but he didn't shed a drop of sweat. This shows how powerful Jiang Tian has become. No wonder he would say that no one in this class in the country is his opponent. It's such a pity, Shui Ruyan muttered, with regret on her face. Isn't your reward wasted in vain? He finally won first place, but the reward had no effect on Jiang Tian. Since being passive doesn't work, why don't you try taking the initiative instead? Jiang Tian suddenly thought of something and his expression changed. Boom! Being so close, Shui Ruyan could clearly hear a roaring sound coming from Jiang Tian's body, as if there was some kind of vibration. Blood Abyss Furnace skill, operating at full power. Almost instantly, Jiang Tian's skin began to turn red, and the blood in his body began to surge like mercury. The massive amount of blood energy originally stored in his body began to be continuously consumed, traveling throughout his body to be tempered. At the same time, the high-pressure spiritual energy in the entire blood source room also began to pour into Jiang Tian's body. Classmate Jiang, you can't. Seeing this, Shui Ruyan's face immediately changed drastically. The pressure of the spiritual energy here is too high. If you take the initiative to absorb it, something will happen. Once upon a time, there was such a thing. Someone in the blood source chamber took the initiative to practice and absorb the high-pressure spiritual energy here. As a result, he couldn't bear the high pressure of the spiritual energy at all, and his body exploded and died, staining the blood source room with blood. Even if Jiang Tian is powerful, doing this is tantamount to committing suicide. Sure enough, after Jiang Tian absorbed the high-pressure spiritual energy in the blood source room, the muscles all over his body began to tighten and some wounds began to burst. It was at this time that Shui Ruyan saw an incredible scene. Jiang Tian's muscles contracted instantly, squeezing the wound to prevent blood from flowing out, and the gaping wound began to heal quickly. A vortex of spiritual energy seemed to be generated in the entire blood source room, and in the center was Jiang Tian. It's working. The effect of tempering the body is very good. Jiang Tian suffered from severe pain, but he was still able to speak, but his brows were slightly frowned. He weighed it in his mind and found that the efficiency of converting high-pressure spiritual energy into blood energy was very low. Only about 10% of high-pressure spiritual energy would be converted into blood energy. However, this high-pressure spiritual energy is absorbed into the body and tempers the body very efficiently, especially when the technique is running at full strength. Double. The only problem is that in order to keep his body from collapsing and heal his wounds quickly, the blood stored in Jiang Tian's body is burning rapidly. The blood energy transformed by high-pressure spiritual energy is just a drop in the bucket. Jiang Tian felt a little pity. If he had eaten, he should have been able to practice for a longer time. Right now, according to the blood energy stored in his body, he should be gone within an hour. Classmate Jiang, are you okay? Shui Ruyan asked cautiously when she saw that Jiang Tian didn't seem to have any signs of explosion. It was as if his voice were just a little louder, something would trigger an opportunity that would make Jiang Tianjun explode. It feels pretty good. The only pity is that my blood energy can't keep up. Jiang Tian said, looking at Shui Ruyan. By the way, classmate Shui, can I bring a pot in here? Shui Ruyan was silent for a long time. Classmate Jiang, are you planning to cook in the blood source room? If you think about it carefully, it's not necessary. Just prepare it in advance and bring more food in. Jiang Tian pondered for a moment and explained. After Shui Ruyan looked at Jiang Tian for a long time, she couldn't help but laugh. Only classmate Jiang can do this. If you eat in the blood source room, no one else will believe it. Speaking of which, classmate Shui's speech and movements have become much easier. Is it because of me? At this time, Jiang Tian suddenly said to Shui Ruyan. Shui Ruyan was stunned for a moment, and then she realized that she felt too relaxed. After sensing it carefully, she realized that the pressure had indeed dropped sharply. Jiang Tian was a little worried. Could it be that I have influenced you? Wouldn't the effect of cultivation be greatly reduced? After saying that, Jiang Tian was ready to call it a day. He recovers quickly, so there is no need to come in every few days. Unlike Shui Ruyan, she finally came to practice once, so don't ruin other people's practice results because of him. No, classmate Jiang. Shui Ruyan's eyes suddenly lit up and she looked up at Jiang Tian. The effect of practicing this way seems to be better. When Shui Ruyan said this, she inadvertently took a step back and her eyes lit up. As if she had discovered a new world, she took a few steps back, and then took a few steps closer to Jiang Tian. After going back and forth several times, Shui Ruyan finally stopped 3 steps away from Jiang Tian. Did I cause the pressure in the blood source chamber to change? Jiang Tian saw Shui Ruyan's actions and understood what the other party had discovered. Shui Ruyan nodded. Yes, the pressure will be less around classmate Jiang, but it will be even greater when I'm away from you. For me, the pressure of the level 1 blood source chamber is not that good. The pressure of the level 2 blood source chamber is too high, but this is the disadvantage of the blood source chamber. It is difficult to adjust the pressure finely. The only thing that can be controlled is the quality of the spiritual energy inside the blood source chamber. Whether it is mixed or pure, after all, it depends on the spiritual stone used. Now that I have classmate Jiang, I can find a spiritual energy pressure that is most suitable for me. It not only minimizes the damage to the body, but also achieves the best tempering effect. And it can last longer. Speaking of this place, Shui Ruyan's eyes were filled with brilliance. She looked at Jiang Tian and joked. Unexpectedly, classmate Jiang has become the humanoid regulator in the blood source room. Jiang Tian also didn't expect that his unintentional attempt would have such an effect. Not only did it solve the problem of ineffective training in the blood source room, but it also allowed Shui Ruyan to have better training results. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. After finding the right pressure, Shui Ruyan immediately started her own training method. Under the original extreme pressure, Shui Ruyan could not do this. Not only would it not be helpful, but it would make the body more seriously damaged and require longer recovery time. Now that there are humanoid training plugins like Jiang Tian, she can fully withstand the pressure and exercise at the same time, getting twice the result with half the effort. When Jiang Tian and Shui Ruyan were practicing hard in the blood source room, they were at the 2nd level portal number 7 in Shaanxi, the provincial capital. Although the 2nd level portal number 7 is in Shang City, it is only in the suburbs outside the central city. The layout has been planned in advance, and the base has been temporarily expanded a lot. The reason is the red banner hanging at the base gate. The number 1 examination center of the National Martial Arts College entrance examination in Southern Province. Senior high school candidates from the provincial capital, Shang City and 5 surrounding cities will take the martial arts college entrance examination at this number 1 test site. Shui Ruyan's aunt, Shui Xiao, was patrolling the entire base with her people. The incident in Yu City can be said to be a lesson for the past. Her niece also came to test center number 1 to take the college entrance examination, so she naturally took all aspects into consideration. However, this is a provincial capital, and she even led her dragon soaring army to station here. If clowns like Starry Sky sect want to target this place, it is tantamount to wishful thinking. The kind of rat in the gutter who only has the guts to make small moves in the dark. Once things happen, he will run away and go to a foreign world and never dare to come back. If anyone from the Starry Sky sect dares to show up at the test center she manages, she promises to crush them all to death. While inspecting the base, Shui Xiao suddenly found an old acquaintance and walked over in surprise. When she got closer, she unexpectedly said, "You actually broke through." "HMPH, are you surprised that I broke through?" Huang Wei asked happily while holding a cigar in his mouth and looking at Shui Xiao in front of him. It can be seen from the proud expression on his face that Huang Wei is feeling extremely happy now. It's surprising, because once you break through and cross this threshold, the human race will definitely have one more top expert in the future. Shui Xiao's expression was serious. She knew very well what her old classmate was capable of. It's a pity that he was injured at the time, and the natural chasm in his realm blocked him for too many years. Unexpectedly, he succeeded in breaking through. Doesn't it mean that his injury is healed? My old classmate still talks nicely, but this time the martial arts college entrance examination is very exciting. It's actually the 2nd level portal on the 7th. Huang Wei narrowed his eyes slightly. Shui Xiao nodded. The situation has not been good these years, and the performance of many students on the battlefield is hard to describe. The level of recruits recruited in the army has dropped drastically. In the past few years, I have been too kind and protective of students, but the situation of our human race does not allow us to be too gentle. So this time, all the examination rooms in various places across the country have been changed. Speaking of this place, Shui Xiao looked at Huang Wei. We will no longer continue to use the conquered alien world, but battlefield. Huang Hui's eyes flickered behind the rising smoke. It looks like the situation is worse than imagined. Conduct the martial arts college entrance examination in a more cruel way, and capture these brats who have never gone to college and treat them as strong men. Shui Xiao snorted coldly. What about the strong men? When we were taking the martial arts college entrance examination, which one of us didn't go to the battlefield to fight and come back with injuries all over? It was a mistake to change the rules in the first place. The human race is still in crisis, so let's take this stable approach. Speaking of which, are you ready to be transferred? While Shui Xiao was talking, she looked at Huang Hui's combat uniform and asked. Huang Wei nodded. That's about it. I'll help with the martial arts college entrance examination first, and then I should go to the battlefield. You also know that if I hadn't been injured and had no choice but to retreat, I would have cultivated myself through war. Seeing Huang Wei regaining his former glory, Shui Xiao nodded. Yes, it seems that my old classmate is going to regain his original reputation. Huang Wei also laughed loudly here. I'm lending you auspicious words. Besides, I wouldn't have been able to break through so quickly without the resources provided by your Shui family. Of course, Huang Wei still added in his heart. The biggest contributor is actually his junior brother Zhang Tiantian. By the way, I have been busy with exams since I left. Shui Xiao suddenly thought of something and asked Huang Wei, how is that classmate Xiao Zhang recently? Are you preparing well for the exam? It was okay not to mention this, but when Huang Wei mentioned this, he couldn't help but think of Shui Xiao's persuasion to Zhang Tian, and his expression management began to get out of control. Shui Xiao saw Huang Wei making a face and not replying, and frowned. I'm asking you, what are you doing with this weird look? It doesn't look like you. It's nothing, he should be practicing hard. Huang Wei said with a smile. Anyway, you are the examiner at test site number 1, can you just see it with your own eyes? Shui Xiao looked at Huang Wei and said amusedly. You also know that I am the examiner and need to sit in the entire examination room. How can I focus on one child? I hope this child can gain some energy and work harder. Although the examination venue has been replaced by a battlefield, it will be easier to have a future accordingly. After all, compared to the past, talent is one aspect, and battlefield performance is also very important. It will be a bonus. I hope he can work hard and go to Star City. As soon as Shui Xiao finished speaking, Huang Wei beside him couldn't help himself. PFF'd. In response, Shui Xiao frowned and glared at the other person. Why are you laughing? Is what I said funny? It's nothing, I just thought of happy things. Huang Wei waved his hand and pressed the corners of his mouth desperately. It's a pity that it can't be suppressed. After finally holding back his smile, Huang Wei said to Shui Xiao, due to the restructuring and various preparations, there is still 1 month left for the martial arts college entrance examination, right? To be precise, there are still 26 days. Shui Xiao looked at Huang Wei. She always felt that there was something strange about him, but she couldn't explain it. Huang Wei rubbed his hands with a smile and said to Shui Xiao, can you please give me a few days off so that I can do some work? After all, he is the boss of the examination group he is currently in, so he must ask for leave without permission from the other party. Shui Xiao frowned. I'm so busy that I can't even go back when my home is so close. I have to stay in the base every day and can't leave. You've just been transferred here and you're asking me for leave before you've even done anything. Lao Huang, where's your face? Please. Huang Wei cupped his hands. Teacher, please ask me to do something. I have to obey. This made Shui Xiao stunned for a moment. She knew that Huang Hui's teacher was the famous Principal Zhou. Since it was the other party's request, I'm afraid there is something important. For 3 days, don't push yourself too far. Shui Xiao said, pointing at the other party, you know my rules. I understand, 3 days is enough. Huang Wei waved his hand with a smile, and immediately turned around and ran away, fearing that the other party would regret it. Looking at Huang Hui's running back, Shui Xiao was still curious as to whether Principal Zhou had something to ask him to do at this juncture. Do not care. Shui Xiao shook her head, it had nothing to do with her. The other side, Shangxi No. 1 Training Hall. Laugh. The heavy metal door opened, and Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan left the blood source room. A full 53 minutes have passed since entering the blood source room. When the two people walked out, the staff on duty looked surprised and looked at them with different eyes. Judging from the registration information, the two were just high school seniors who had just completed the awakening assessment. Their qualification to use the blood source chamber this time was a reward from the U-City joint entrance examination. Does the number 1 player in U-City actually have this ability? The staff was very surprised. They didn't expect that they could persist for so long. You must know that the average time spent in the second-level blood source room for the senior high school students in their provincial city, the group of top students in the first echelon, is only 1 hour and 45 minutes. The top group of geniuses can only break the time of just over 2 hours. According to the records of students in U-City in the past, it seems that being able to persist for about 20 minutes is already a big deal. Occasionally a good seedling pops up, and it only takes 30 minutes at most. Compared with the top students in their provincial capital, they are far behind. At most, it can only be at the third echelon level of their provincial capital. These two have reached the first-class level of the second tier, and they seem to have great potential. The staff member was thinking as he watched the two people leave. If he knew that Zhang Tian took the initiative to absorb high-pressure spiritual energy in the blood source room, I'm afraid he wouldn't think so. The two left the number 1 training hall. Wan, who had received the news about Shui Ruyan in advance, had already driven her car and was waiting. In the car, Wan couldn't help but be curious. "Miss, how long have you been holding on?" 53 minutes. Shui Ruyan answered. "So long." Wan was obviously very happy. "Miss, it's your first time to go in, and it's great that you can hold on for so long. But compared with the top students in the provincial capital, we have to work harder." Obviously, Wan knows a lot of information about this class of students, and she has recently collected it. After all, these will be the opponents in the martial arts college entrance examination and are the objects of struggle. When you embark on the path of spiritual practice, you will fight to the death with alien races, a race showdown. Within the human race, it is about competing and competing with each other. Otherwise, it will be difficult for elites to emerge from a pool of stagnant water. Shui Ruyan said nothing, but looked at Zhang Tian next to her, her eyes full of gratitude. 53 minutes. Others don't know it, but she knows very well that the effect of tempering her body is far beyond that of ordinary people. Because she has always maintained a low-damage, high-efficiency way of tempering. The effect she achieved in these 53 minutes was already equivalent to the effect others achieved in 2 hours. This was because she didn't take into account the burning effect of the remaining blood in her body after eating the flame bird meat during the awakening test. If you add this in, it is at least worth the effect of others for 3 hours. And Zhang Tian, he had to absorb all this high-pressure spiritual energy into his body to temper his body. If he were simply allowed to stay in the level 2 blood source room, I'm afraid no one would be able to break his record. What's more, Shui Ruyan doesn't think this record is of any use. Relatively speaking, making good use of the blood source chamber to improve oneself is the right way. After sending Zhang Tian to the door of his house, Shui Ruyan waved goodbye to Zhang Tian. "Then I'll see you the day after tomorrow, classmate Zhang." "Well, have a good rest." Zhang Tian waved in the same way. When he turned around, he found his parents lying on the second-floor window and peeking. Sure enough, after entering the house, he saw the two couples running down the stairs in a hurry and rushing in front of him. "How are you, son? How are you getting along today?" Lu Feng was so happy that she patted her son on the shoulder. Zhang Tian looked at his mother Lu Feng like this and sighed helplessly. "At best, we are comrades who have fought together and are classmates who have a good relationship." "Mom, it's too early for you to ask this. Why, you're already an adult." Lu Feng looked at her son, hating that iron could never become steel. "What comrade? You said you saved her life, but that's called sharing life and death. You're such a stupid boy." Quote. Zhang Tian listened to his mother's ramble and looked at his father's playful and approving eyes. He didn't know what to say for a moment. "From all aspects, classmate Shui has helped me a lot, especially in helping me improve my cooking skills, which is extremely obvious. After all, Zhang Tian is also a human being. After spending these days together, he will naturally have a good impression of him. But for now, that's it. The time we get together is still too short, let everything take its course. Many times, good results come unexpectedly. While Zhang Tian was facing gossip about his parents, Shui Ruyan, who had just returned home, also faced questioning from her grandmother. It seems that our little Ruyan is having a very happy day today. Yi Linfang held her granddaughter's hand and said softly. Shui Ruyan naturally heard the teasing in her grandmother's words, and her cheeks turned slightly red. What did grandma say? My classmates and I just went to the blood source room to practice hard. Well, grandma does feel that Xiao Ruyan's strength has improved. Is the effect of the blood source chamber so immediate? Yi Linfang carefully felt Shui Ruyan at this time, and was a little surprised. The effect of the blood source chamber is good, but it can't be improved so much in one go, right? Could it be that this is the magic of love? Grandma, can you do me a favor? Shui Ruyan pulled her grandmother to sit down, took out her phone and opened an interface. I want to redeem this, but I don't have enough permissions. Can you guarantee it for me? This. Looking at what Shui Ruyan wanted to exchange, Yi Linfang was a little surprised and looked at her carefully. Xiao Ruyan, you really like this boy so much, is it worth it? Yi Linfang's expression was very serious. The time spent in the awakening assessment made you have a good impression of that child, and we all know it. Our family doesn't care about people's background, otherwise I wouldn't have married your grandpa. So we will just watch from afar and let nature take its course as long as the bottom line is not touched. It's just that your behavior is too reckless and irrational. If this budding relationship is good for you, we will naturally be happy and bless you, but if it makes you dizzy, grandma will intervene. Hearing what grandma said, Shui Ruyan's cheeks flushed, but her tone was firm. Grandma, you misunderstood. I have a good impression of classmate Zhang, but it's not to the point of being dizzy. Now, we can be considered good friends. Yi Linfang reached out and poked at the screen of her phone. We are good friends. As for using the merit points left by your mother. If you are not dizzy, do you need your grandma's guarantee to redeem this precious thing? 50,000 merit points is not a lot for our family, but it is a huge number for you. It was left by your mother for you to inherit. Shui Ruyan took a deep breath and her expression became more solemn. Grandma, please believe me. She promised to keep Zhang Tian a secret and not to say too much. After all, although grandma is a close relative, she has revealed all her secrets. But Zhang Tian's secret, even if it is a close relative, cannot be revealed without the other party's consent. There is no way to repay the kindness of saving a life. Shui Ruyan knew very well that the gratitude given by the Shui family was far from enough for Zhang Tian's help to her. Just because she had a good impression of Zhang Tian, she had to repay and thank him and end this so-called kindness. After the relationship was over, the two of them could purely try to develop a relationship. The kindness of a drop of water is repaid by a spring of water. What's more, Zhang Tian has been so helpful to him. After thinking about it, this gift is the best. Yi Linfang looked at Shui Ruyan with firm eyes. After being silent for a long time, she suddenly smiled and said, Okay, grandma understands. Grandma will vouch for you. As she said this, she took out her mobile phone and started operating it. Not long after, there was a video call. After confirming her identity, she successfully vouched for Shui Ruyan and allowed her to redeem the gift she chose. Grandma, thank you. Shui Ruyan hugged Yi Linfang and rubbed her head in her arms. Yi Linfang rubbed her granddaughter's head. It seems that your careless aunt has made a mistake. Grandma. Shui Ruyan froze slightly. Just when she was about to say something to make up for it, she was blocked by Yi Linfang. Everyone has their own little secrets. You don't have to tell them, and grandma won't ask. Yi Linfang caressed her granddaughter's back and muttered, You are a good child, and grandma trusts your judgment. Grandma is the best. Shui Ruyan's tone was choked, her head buried in the other person's arms, and she said dully. Yi Linfang smiled. Really, then who is better, grandma or grandpa? Shui Ruyan arched her head. Of course it's grandma. Yi Linfang laughed heartily. Ha ha ha, that's right, your grandfather, that bad old man, is no better than me. Tang officials exchanged things very efficiently. But the next day, the stuff arrived. After Shui Ruyan confirmed that the items were correct, she picked up her phone and sent a message to Zhang Tian. In order to thank classmate Zhang for saving his life last time, I have prepared a mysterious gift. Do you have time today? Close black lens bracket. After sending the message, Shui Ruyan lay on the sofa and waited for the news. Ding! Shui Ruyan immediately turned over and picked up her phone to look at it. She didn't expect to receive a reply so soon. Zhang Tian, if you have time, if it's convenient, you'd better come to my house and discuss important matters. Close black lens bracket. Shui Ruyan was stunned for a moment. Zhang Tian actually invited her over. Discuss important matters. She didn't think Zhang Tian was joking, so Shui Ruyan simply cleaned up and asked Aunt Wan to send her there. Since Zhang Tian said so, Shui Ruyan had no intention of dressing up carefully to avoid wasting time. The place where Shui Ruyan lives is very close to the community where Zhang Tian lives, but it only takes 10 minutes to arrive. Soon he arrived at the door of Zhang Tian's current home. After ringing the doorbell, the door opened quickly. However, the person who opened the door surprised Shui Ruyan. Master Huang. Shui Ruyan was very surprised by the middle-aged man who appeared in front of her. Seeming to have some understanding, Shui Ruyan turned around and said, Aunt Wan, please go back first. If Palace Master Huang is here, there will be no problem in safety. Aunt Wan nodded lightly and glanced at Huang Wei. She was a little surprised, but she didn't agree. Miss, I'd better wait in the car. She could hear what the young lady was saying. It seemed that there was something she didn't want her to know, but for the sake of the other party's safety, she couldn't leave rashly. That's okay, thank you Aunt Wan. Shui Ruyan nodded, and then walked into the villa. After entering the villa, Shui Ruyan discovered that there seemed to be formation fluctuations inside. If you look closely, the formation's luster seems to be in the direction of the kitchen. That's it. Shui Ruyan understood immediately and hurriedly walked to the kitchen. As expected, Zhang Tian was busy in the kitchen, and Shui Ruyan knew this formation, and she could even arrange it. This is a simple formation in high school courses. It can isolate sounds, movements and smells. It is a basic concealment formation. After crossing the range of the formation and walking into the kitchen, Shui Ruyan could smell the fragrant aroma and her lips and teeth were filled with saliva. This is instinctive and cannot be controlled. She looked towards the chopping board and found that there were many prepared ingredients neatly arranged. These are. Shui Ruyan looked at all this and couldn't help but ask. Huang Wei chuckled. I went to the third-level teleportation gate number 17 in Shangxi City, killed some foreigners, and let my junior brother practice his skills. The starry sky road behind Shangxi's portal number 17 also leads to the Red Realm. What alien race did Lord Huang kill? Shui Ruyan was a little surprised and couldn't help but ask. Huang Heil smiled and gestured towards the other side of the huge kitchen. Shui Ruyan turned her head and found a pig's head with eyes wide open in the corner of the kitchen floor. The skin color of this big pig head is reddish, and the center of its eyebrows has the symbol of blazing flames. Is this the Red Pig clan? Shui Ruyan couldn't help shouting. The Red Pig clan is spread all over the Red Realm and is one of the main races in the Red Realm. He, that's right. Huang Wei chuckled and looked at Shui Ruyan. My junior brother and you are both here now. If the two of them join forces, I will be able to help you. With that said, Huang Wei noticed the box Shui Ruyan was holding. Especially when he saw the logo on the box, he couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Girl, what are you carrying in your hand? Thank you to classmate Zhang for the gift that saved your life. This is my personal thought. Shui Ruyan put the box on the table and said with a smile. Hiss. Huang Wei took a breath of air. This is a gift of restricted combat readiness resources. You are so willing to give it up. Huang Wei knew Shui Ruyan's background, and he also knew that her grandparents were not people to be trifled with. At such a young age, being able to apply for such restricted combat readiness supplies must have been guaranteed by family members. As for merit points, there is no shortage of them. What is rare is this kind of heart. You must know that even if a family member guarantees, there is a limit to the number of times. According to the rules of the Tang dynasty, if the younger generation wants to have enough rights and adequate treatment, they need to fight for it themselves. The help provided by elders must be framed within a limit. What are you talking about? Zhang Tian grabbed the hot casserole with his bare hands, carried it to the table, and placed it on it. As the casserole came closer, the aroma that filled the air penetrated their noses, and they became energetic. Let's talk about the gifts they prepared for you. Restricted combat supplies, I don't know what they are. Huang Wei raised his eyebrows at the box in Shui Ruyan's hand. At this time, Zhang Tian also discovered the box Shui Ruyan placed on the table. This is my personal gratitude. Shui Ruyan unlocked the box and revealed the contents. She turned the box around and faced Zhang Tian. I won't hand the things to you personally, otherwise it would be too strange. Zhang Tian looked inside the box and found that it was an ancient ring. He stretched out his hand and took it in his hand, and could find the lavender lines on it. Space ring. Huang Wei, who was standing next to him, saw clearly what this thing was at a glance. He couldn't help but take a deep breath. What a guy, you actually guaranteed this. Tisk, 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 no wonder. The space ring is an absolutely restricted item. Just for transporting supplies, this thing is completely top-notch combat readiness supplies. Moreover, the purple sky stone used to make the space ring itself is precious and rare, so it is not an easy thing to get this thing. Fortunately, Shui Ruyan's grandmother had high enough authority, otherwise there would be no guarantee. This thing is not allowed to be bought or sold. It can only be exchanged for merit points. Huang Wei patted Zhang Tian on the shoulder and explained the situation to him. The difficulty with this thing is not the price, but the qualifications to buy it. The teacher's qualifications for redemption have been used up. He is probably still thinking about how to help you get it, but this girl took the lead. Zhang Tian was surprised when he looked at the space ring, and looked at Shui Ruyan. It's too precious. But it's very suitable. This way, your kitchen utensils and bottles can be carried more easily. At least you don't have to carry pots on your back and endure the strange looks of others. Shui Ruyan said seriously. Indeed, you don't need to pay too much attention to other people's eyes, but wouldn't it be better if you could avoid it? You're just doing what you love. You shouldn't be looked at like a joke. It's troublesome to explain. Huang Wei stood beside him and nodded. This thing is indeed useful, especially junior brother, you will inevitably hunt for ingredients on the battlefield and cook them on the spot. With this thing, everything will be convenient. There are also spices and seasoning materials similar to the Flame Bird clan's flame fruit. It is also convenient to collect them after you find them. Zhang Tian put on the ring and after stimulating his blood energy, he recognized his master and left a mark. After careful inspection, I found that this space ring is not too small, about the size of a swimming pool. I like this gift very much. Thank you, classmate Shui. Zhang Tian solemnly thanked Shui Ruyan. Shui Ruyan smiled and nodded. Since I like it so much, shouldn't I express it a little bit next? That's natural. I'll get the bowls and chopsticks for classmate Shui. Please help me comment next. Zhang Tian immediately turned around and walked to the cupboard, took the bowls and chopsticks and handed them to Shui Ruyan. Huang Wei next to him was also very self-aware, so he went to get his own portion and packed the meal. When the casserole was opened, a hazy mist rose up, revealing the braised pig's trotters inside. Classmate Shui, please go first. Zhang Tian signaled. Huang Wei was also waiting patiently. In the Yaniao clan world, he already knew what Shui Ruyan was capable of. It is also clear that after finishing this portion, the next portion will only taste better. Shui Ruyan was not pretentious. She stretched out her chopsticks and picked up a piece of pig's trotters. When the chopsticks touch the pig's trotters, the brown-red skin is like jelly, shaking gently. When sandwiched, it is very soft and tender, but does not lose its elasticity. She took a bite first, her eyes sparkling. It's fat but not greasy, and has a unique fragrance that fills your mouth with collagen. What's more unique is that the soft tendons under the meat are still elastic, and there will be a unique rebound feeling the moment the teeth are bitten off. Along with some colloids, the taste is richer. At the same time, the salty and slightly sweet braised sauce permeates out with chewing. A carnival for carnivores and a feast for gourmets. Shui Ruyan lowered her head and looked into the bowl again. The snow-white rice had been soaked in the dripping juice and was shiny. She took a handful and put it in her mouth, closing her eyes and enjoying it. The rich meaty and fat-rich soup, combined with exquisite carbohydrates, this combination can often hit your soul. It's delicious. Shui Ruyan couldn't help but give a thumbs up to Zhang Tian, but in some details, I'm afraid there is still room for adjustment. Sugar can enhance the freshness, but it seems that the delicate and slightly sweet texture of the red pig meat makes the sweetness a bit too obvious. In addition, in terms of coloring, the technique may need to be adjusted a little more. Zhang seems to have worked hard to ensure the color. There is still a little burnt smell, although it is very shallow. It may be that there is something wrong with the processing of the fried sugar color. In addition, Shui Ruyan talked endlessly, and Zhang Tian also remembered it very seriously, and his mind was reviewing the details of his cooking. Only Huang Wei next to him was so impatient that he was almost crying out. But no matter in terms of age or seniority, he is also considered the elder of the two. Children are not anxious, but it looks ugly when an adult is anxious. It's so uncomfortable. The delicious food so close to him was so fragrant, but he was embarrassed to open his mouth. Fortunately, Shui Ruyan's review time ended soon, and Huang Wei couldn't bear it any longer and immediately started showing off. He doesn't understand any details, and he can't understand any details. Take a bite, hum, and shake your head twice. What goes around comes around. However, Huang Wei controlled it very well and did not dare to eat too much. Shui Ruyan was even more experienced, and she held back after taking a few bites. Because she knew that she might have to eat more than 2 or 3 times next. The only person who suffered was Aunt Wan, who stayed in the car from morning until evening. If the lady hadn't come in person to deliver the food during the meal, she would have suspected something had happened. I can't eat any more, I really can't eat any more. On the ground, Huang Wei lay sprawled there, holding his belly with both hands and muttering in his mouth. There was no other way. The food cooked by Zhang Tian seemed to have a unique magic power, attracting him to keep putting it in his mouth. Especially with Shui Ruyan's comments, helping Zhang Tian dig out the details. And Zhang Tian's own talent in cooking has made his ability to control details stronger and stronger. At the end, it was obviously a simple braised pig's trotters, but it almost made him swallow his tongue. The most outrageous thing was the last pot, the moment the lid of the casserole was lifted. Colorful light bloomed. Huang Wei, who obviously couldn't eat anything anymore, seemed to be confused and just put it in his mouth. Shui Ruyan also shook her head this time, saying that she had no comments and could provide them to Zhang Tian again. With this braised pig's trotters, Zhang Tian's skills are already at an all-time high. It looks like I have to practice hard tonight. Huang Wei, who was on the ground, couldn't help but speak. He only felt that the blood in his body was almost exploding. And, it's so filling. Junior brother's food is more terrifying than the elixir. It is moistened by a gentle drizzle and makes no sound, and the blood penetrates your whole body. It will directly make you overnourished. The physical injuries in the blood source room yesterday were almost healed even though nothing was done, and the strength has improved a lot. Shui Ruyan also felt inexplicable. However, eating this time is not as simple as it seems. Huang Wei asked for leave to hunt the Red Pig tribe, mainly because of Zhou Sheng's orders. As a teacher, he cares about Zhang Tian very much. Similarly, when he said he supported Zhang Tian to become a good chef, he certainly didn't just say it casually. Of course, being a chef requires training materials, and besides, it is still a career that fits his dream. Therefore, Zhou Shengkai ordered Huang to go back and hunt the foreigners to help Zhang Tian test himself. As for Zhang Tian, who learned about this situation from Zhou Sheng, when Huang Wei took the initiative to contact him, he chose the Red Pig clan. No way, anyone is always impressed by their first experience. It seems that the colorful youth is imprinted on your memory and lingers on. The first bite of meat is always so amazing that Zhang Tian can't let it go. This time he finally had a good meal. With Huang Hui's help, Zhang Tian also determined his own specialness. The food he cooks has an effect similar to elixirs, or it can be called medicinal food. The better your cooking skills, the better the taste and the stronger the effect. Especially with the help of Shui Ruyan, she made the perfect food that glows with special additional effects. The characteristics of the Red Pig tribe are strong defense and full endurance. After eating the last dish and the blood seeping into their bodies, Shui Ruyan and Huang Wei had the same feedback. The condition of the skin is better. For example, Shui Ruyan itself is very white, and the tender skin can be squeezed out of water after eating it. Likewise, the skin's toughness seems to be strengthened and more elastic. In other words, it improves defense capabilities. Huang Wei, a big man, has become much fairer and looks much handsomer and younger. In addition, he is tall, holding a cigar in his mouth, and wears a specially made black uniform. The vocabulary of thugs in suits appeared in Zhang Tian's mind. In addition to the benefits, he also discovered the limitations of Zhang Tian's abilities. Zhang Tian, a level 3 Red Pig clan, cannot cook. To be precise, there is no way to remove the toxins in the meat, and there is no way to bring out the amazing deliciousness. Obviously, Zhang Tian's career as a chef is inseparable from his own hard work. If you are not strong enough, you are not even qualified to cook the opponent. Not to mention professional characteristics, even if Zhang Tian placed a high-level alien corpse in front of him, he probably wouldn't be able to handle it. The strength of the opponent's body is so strong that even changing the knife cannot do it. Forging iron requires one's own hard work, that's the truth. Similarly, Zhang Tian himself also wants to pursue the art of hunting ingredients on the spot, and start cooking them in flames when they are the freshest and perfect. After summarizing, Huang Wei had already taken his leave. And Shui Ruyan stayed for a while, because Zhang Tian was preparing to cook some more braised pig's trotters for the training in the blood source chamber, so that he could eat them while practicing. As a food critic, Shui Ruyan is also Zhang Tian's quality inspector who controls the quality of food. After all, he still lacks experience and is a wild man who became a monk halfway. He relies solely on his talent, and Zhang Tian's success rate is only about 10%. It wasn't until late at night that Shui Ruyan was ready to say goodbye. Just when she was about to leave, Zhang Tian packed up a packaged braised pig's trotters. Take it back and give it to the elderly to try. I heard from Uncle Huang that they helped. As a junior, you should also be polite. Shui Ruyan was startled for a moment. She knew very well that the impact of bringing this braised pig's trotters back was not simple. Just when she was about to refuse, she heard Zhang Tian's firm tone. You don't want me to be laughed at, and I don't want you to have unnecessary conflicts with your family. Shui Ruyan naturally knew that Zhang Tian was thinking about herself. Don't worry, Grandpa and Grandma are not that kind of people. There are no conflicts in our family. Since the two old people are so nice, what's the problem? After hearing this, Shui Ruyan felt a hint of warmth in her heart and nodded to accept. After saying goodbye to Zhang Tian, she got in the car and left. Not long after, Shui Ruyan returned home. Shui Ruyan returned home safely, and Antoine also left with peace of mind and returned to her home. Entering the house, I happened to see the old couple eating. There are very few dishes on the table, but they are all expensive ingredients, which have spiritual energy and can nourish the body. Xiao Ruyan is back. Are you satisfied with the gift? Yi Linfang asked softly with a smile. Before Shui Ruyan could answer, Shui Danshin beside her curled her lips. If you're still not satisfied, that's a space ring. Young women are not allowed to stay in college. This poor old man didn't even receive such a gift. Looking at the jealous old man, Yi Linfang said angrily, how old are you? Is it fair to compete with a young boy? Shui Ruyan looked at her grandfather, an old boy, and also covered her mouth and chuckled. Because the distance was not far, and because Zhang Tian cooked the glowing, braised pig's trotters last, Shui Ruyan brought the dish over without changing the bowl. Looking at the packing box, the two elders were also a little surprised. In order to thank Grandma for her help and to thank Grandpa for thinking a lot about their family, classmate Zhang personally cooked a dish. Thank you, Shui Ruyan explained with a smile. Shui Danshin and Yi Linfang looked at each other, a little surprised. Later, Yi Linfang was the first to speak. Looking at the information Shui Xiao brought back, it seems that this kid wants to be a good chef, and he is serious about it, but he just needs a dish. It's not bad to have this kind of thought. Shui Danshin also nodded. Yi Linfang. Then let's try it and see how good this kid is at cooking. I won't eat it. Shitangsen shook her head and continued to peel the snow-patterned prawns in front of her. I don't like pig's trotters. This shrimp is delicious. I know you won't eat these pig's trotters and chicken feet, so stop yelling and save some shrimp for Xiao Ruyan. Seeing this, Shui Ruyan didn't say a word, just snickered secretly and opened the lid. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.